Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to a Survivor's Suggestions. I want to thank you for joining me today because let's face it, talking about domestic violence and abuse is a horrible topic. But if from my story and presentation, we can help just one person to leave safely, sooner, or better yet, never enter that type of relationship in the first place, well, that will be golden. I want to tell you my story today, not so that you feel sorry for me, but so that you can see that I have led a life that has given me first-hand experience into toxic relationships and abuse. This is only my side of the story. I have sought legal advice and I am allowed to tell my side. I want to warn you that the content of both my story and presentation contain graphic and violent information that might upset some viewers. I also want to express that I am not a relationship expert or a counsellor. Everything that I talk to you about comes from my experiences or my research. By the end of the presentation, I hope that you are well aware of the indicators that an abuser will use to control and dominate their victim. And I also hope that you can see the indicators that will give you a loving, healthy relationship. But first, my story. So, I have been raped. I've had a shotgun held to my head. I have had to flee to the safety of a women's shelter. I have had to rely on my family and friends to provide me with a bed because I couldn't return to my own home. I've had my possessions destroyed where he threw out things that I will never get back, like a cup that my dad gave me for my 21st and family photo albums. I have been financially abused and ripped off hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have had my social media hacked. I have had my life threatened. And I have been tormented for years after I left the relationship. I've had a tracking app put on my phone that I didn't find for ages. I have been verbally abused. I have had my abuser lie to family, friends, and authorities to get away with the abuse. And sadly, I have had some of my family and friends believe my abuser. I have also been a victim of what I call sneaky abuse. And this is where the abuser uses coercive control, emotional abuse, and psychological abuse to control and dominate the victim. It's what I call mental torture. I've been held up by my throat and thrown across the room. I've had my head split open with a bare knuckle and I needed stitches. And I've woken with my abuser on my bed with a knife ready to commit murder-suicide. Look, all of these things were horrific and just plain inexcusable. But I haven't suffered from the worst form of abuse. There are people out there with stories way worse than mine. And some victims have paid the ultimate price with their life. But unfortunately for me, my journey with abuse started long before any of those events ever took place. You see, my mother was actually my first abuser. And I can remember sitting in my lounge room looking up at the walls that were covered in food and wine where she threw plates and glasses at my father's head. Unfortunately, after he left, the abuse mostly turned to me. I ran away from home at the age of 15 after one of her many beatings, with bruises to 85% of my body and 3 cracked ribs. The report from Children's Services told my father that I should never return to my mother. But I did. When I was 37 weeks pregnant, she kicked me in the stomach. I dropped to my hands and knees and crawled along the long length of this house with her laughing behind me. I'd gone into instant labour. Shortly after, she walked over to my newborn, wrapped in a bunny rug, and blew her nose on that bunny rug. She also threatened the life of my newborn. Probably the worst thing that happened to me was that my mother and one of my partners had an affair of sorts on my birthday. Now, I do not understand how a partner can do that, but I certainly do not understand how a mother can do that to their child on their birthday. Look, I consider myself to be a strong, independent, educated woman. I graduated in the top 10% at university in my chosen career, but I kept attracting abusers. After my last journey with abuse, I decided to research why this kept happening, why I kept attracting this sort of person. And that's where I came up with my presentation. So you will need pen and paper to join me, and let's have a look at these indicators so that we can all maintain and have loving, healthy relationships. I will talk to you soon. Bye.